Hey everybody, it's Will from Artec Industries, and today we will be installing the new JL Bellypan. So we unpackaged everything. You just want to double check and make sure that you have everything you need to do the Bellypan install. All these parts will come in 3 separate boxes. The 3 biggest parts are the oil pan skid, the transmission and transfer case skid, and the gas tank skid. We also have a bunch of extra little parts. I'll go over each one of those as well. We have here the transmission, T-case, and gas tank skid cross member, oil pan exhaust brackets, gas tank strap, oil pan frame mounts. These are for the rear of the gas tank skid. And we've got some extra brackets for the cross member. A hardware pack. You also receive a rubber strap to put on the cross member to protect the factory gas tank. If you're missing anything, please contact sales@artecindustries.com or call the 1-800 number. Okay, I'm going to go over some of the tools we need to do this Bellypan install. So the basics and the essentials you need are a 9/16 wrench, a 3/4 wrench, and a 15/16 wrench. Next up is a ratchet, an 18mm socket and a 13mm socket, a 7/32 Allen, and an 8mm Allen. A lot of these are interchangeable, so if you don't have certain sizes of wrenches, you can use sockets. Either way, you can get the job done as long as you have those sizes in a socket or wrench. The other things we're going to use today, it will make it a lot easier, is 2 ratchet straps, some tape to hold in the carriage bolts, and 1/2-inch drill bit for drilling the frame for the transmission skid plate. So we've got everything unpacked and we're ready to get this thing installed. To make this install super easy, it's best to have an empty gas tank or close to empty gas tank. If you have a full gas tank, it's going to be a lot of heavy lifting. The first step is to take off all the factory skid plates. First, we'll be removing the transmission factory skid plate, and then we'll be removing the transfer case skid plate, the factory GPK. Now that I got the skid plates off, I'm going to clean the frame rails, which will make installation a little bit easier. You can clean them with anything, soap, water, glass cleaner. We just want to clean it because it'll help with the ease of the install. Alright, we've got everything clean. Now we're ready to start the removal of the factory gas tank skid. Alright, so a tech tip. On the factory JL, there are no straps holding the gas tank up. So when you drop it, you don't want to drop it all the way down because the gas tank will come out with the factory skid. First, we'll be taking out this 8mm bolt with a 12mm wrench. If we remove the strap, it'll make it a lot easier to remove the factory gas tank skid. The bolt from the strap won't be able to come all the way out. Just unscrew it all the way until it hits the frame and just leave it until you can drop down the gas tank skid a little bit. Now that we've got dropped down, we're going to finish taking out that bolt to the strap. Using some pliers or a pry bar, just pop the strap down and pop it up. We're also going to pop out the fuel lines. Out of the front of the gas tank, there's a little clip holding them on. And in the back, there's vent tube clips that we're going to pop off as well. Those are things that are connected to the gas tank that will prevent you from lowering it down safely. Now that we've got the strap out and we've got everything unhooked from the factory gas tank skid, we can put the straps in to lift the factory gas tank up. This is why we recommend doing it on empty tanks. It's easiest to fish in the rear strap from the front of the tank and fish it back to the rear. Now that you got both straps in, you may want to grab somebody to help you remove the factory gas tank skid. With the rear strap, make sure it's clear of the 4th bolt hole back on the gas tank. We will be putting a strap right there to hold the tank up. Now that we got the strap on, we're going to fully tighten it to suck the tank up. We're going to get the front cross member ready to get that up and in place too. Here we are with the cross member we provide. We need to put the rubber strip on. This will help protect against rubbing on the gas tank. I'm temporarily installing this cross member with the factory bolt. We'll pull out the driver's side one and replace it with one of the flatheads later on. Now that we've got the crossmember installed and the rear strap installed on gas tank, we can remove the ratchet straps holding the tank. Alright, we're going to temporarily install the transmission and transfer case skid. I'm going to be removing the driver's side bolt while leaving the passenger side tight so it stays up to mark the one hole we need to drill. To do this, only use 3 of the bolts. So the temporary bolt you want to put in is this one M12 that's up front here, one M12 that's on the frame rail here, and a 3/8 that's on the crossmember here. Make sure you tighten all 3 down so it sucks the transpan tight against the frame. Next step, we're going to take down the transmission skid plate. I'm going to center punch the hole, get our drill bit, drill, and safety glasses and drill this hole out. Here's a little tip for you. What you want to do is install everything loose and then go back and tighten it once it's all in place. So the first brackets we're going to install are the oil pan skid brackets that go up on the motor mounts. The mount with the one hole on top goes on the passenger side. The mount with the 2 holes in it will go on the driver's side. Now that the 2 oil pan brackets are in, we can put in the oil pan skid. So get your oil pan skid and your 2 M12 flathead bolts. You can let the oil pan skid rest on those 2 bolts lightly while we get to the bracket bolt. You're going to want to use the longer 3/8 button head bolt and a 3/8 nylock nut. The next step installing the oil pan skid is installing the exhaust brackets. These will help reinforce the oil pan skid. Again, we don't want to fully tighten anything up. We want to leave everything a little loose because some things will need to be lined up later on. On the driver's side, we use 2 button heads and 2 flat heads. The flat heads are to allow clearance for the exhaust that is on the driver's side. Now we're ready to install the transmission transfer case skid. We do have a steel version of this. You may want to get someone to help you put this up because it's definitely not as light as the aluminum. You know, like make this look like a hyperlapse where I'm going super fast. I went against my own rule and tightened that one up. Remember, I can't stress enough to leave all the bolts a little loose. We've got 3 bolts loosely installed. We have 2 bracket pieces that need to go in the front of the transmission skid. Here are the 2 brackets that need to be installed in the factory crossmember to tighten up the transmission skid. Once you get the brackets in, you can use a long Allen head to line them up. Now the next step, bolt these into those little brackets. Okay, the last step to the transmission skid, so we have a little bracket with a PEM nut on it. You insert it into the frame. There's no rev nuts on this, which is kind of awesome, but we'll get that one installed. Here's the bracket. We just slide it into the side of the frame, then bolt the flathead in. The bracket of the 4 PEM nuts, we'll bolt that up to the transmission skid. So the longer side goes on the transmission skid side. I think. All right, now we're going to install the rear brackets for the gas tank skid. The small one goes on the passenger side. And these bolts are going to leave them super loose. Now we're going to install the driver's side gas tank skid bracket in the rear. Again, we will be using the factory hardware. We'll want to leave this side super loose as well. Now we're going to prepare the gas tank skid to go in. There are 4 carriage bolts that we need to put in that bolt to the rear 2 mount. What's easy is to put these carriage bolts in and add a little bit of tape over them to make sure they fully stay in. So we loosen up the bolt on the passenger side with the strap. That way, this piece right here will slide into that bolt that we loosened up on the strap. On the aluminum version, this is a one-man job. On the steel version, it's a probably 3 to 4 man job. Next up is we'll install the bolts. We have 2 more flatheads, 3/8 flatheads. I'll put into this bracket that we installed. Now that we've got the 2 bolts into it to hold it up, we'll install the rear bracket. Again, we're leaving everything loose until all the bolts and nuts are installed. Now that we got the 2 rear gas tank brackets installed, we're going to finish installing the factory bolts. It can be a little finicky to get in. Sometimes it scoots back a little, but we can use a ratchet strap to suck it forward to get those last bolts in. So now that we got all the factory bolts installed along the passenger side frame rail, and all the bolts installed, all the flatheads installed, we can go through and tighten everything now. Now that we've got this fully tightened up, it takes a bit, but now you have the flattest, best belly pan in the universe. Go out and abuse it. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe right here. Seriously, right here.